Hello and welcome to my review of the 1 to 144 scale HGUC Gundam. So here's a look at the box art. It's just a kind of typical anime style drawn box art. It shows the HGUC off in action. I quite like it. Moving on to the side, it just tells you that it's the 95th movable suit in the HGUC line of model kits. It also tells you that it retails for around 22,000 yen or around 22 US dollars. Here we have some nice pictures kind of showing off the gimmicks of the kit, the fact the wings spread out, the fin funnels to deploy, all the weapons that it comes with, as well as some stickers that it comes with, and then a nice little action pose of the kit all painted up. On the other side, it also shows a kind of front and back shot of the kit after being painted. And here is a little expert explaining the history of the HGUC Gundam, what it is, all in Japanese of course, which I can't read. But the gist of it is that the HGUC Gundam is an alternative take of the new Gundam that showed up in Charged Counterattack, the OVA, and the HGUC Gundam instead shows up in the novelization of the same OVA. Here's a quick look at the manual. It's just a pretty standard Gunpla manual. You got a shot of the model kit in the front. Here you kind of have a little section of how to build the kit with all the plates, etc. I think kind of unique to high grade kits is that on the back there is a section telling you how to put on the stickers and seals, because I believe most high grades don't actually come with seals. Here, of course, is a little color guide if you ever want to color it, and I think you do kind of have to color it to make it kind of accurate to the source material. And of course, here's a nice little color splash page showing off the HGUC Gundam in action, as well as, again, the little expert explaining what it actually is. So right out of the box, you're going to get all the pieces of the Gundam that you'd expect, as well as a rifle, a bazooka, as well as a very nicely colored shield. You're also going to get two beam sabers that are royal blue, as well as a sheet of stickers and foil stickers. So starting from the bottom, we have the feet attached to the legs. The feet themselves have a pretty decent range of mobility, even though they are just two pieces of blue and white stacked together. They don't bend or anything like the master grades. Down to the bottom, you get some nice detail, including a pair of thrusters, which I think would look pretty good if you paint them up. Down here, you can also kind of see the mechanical details, which I think, again, also look pretty good if you paint it up a bit more. Onto the actual leg itself, there is a nice little bend. Not quite 180 degrees, I'd say more like maybe 145, but I think it does its job in terms of making the Gundam look kind of cool. And then, of course, it just kind of attaches to the hips with the ball joint. And on the back, I really like these kind of silver piping details. And over here, we also have some vents that I think will really look good if you line them or paint them. Next, we have the waist unit. As you can see on the very top, it has a ball joint so you can attach the torso unit onto it. The front skirts are technically supposed to be one piece, but I snipped it in the middle so that they can move independently. However, this does result in them being kind of loose, though if you choose to paint it or something, it might be a lot better. On the actual crotch itself, there should be a little white sticker, which I have neglected to put on, but it is a nice little detail. Inside, it's kind of what you expect from a high-grade kit, not just a lot of parts showing through. There is some nice attempts to give it kind of like that inner detail that you see on higher-grade kits. Here's also a hole that you attach the action base to. The side skirts are attached just on a poly cap. I do really like this extra kind of blue piece though. And the back is just not movable, it's just kind of static. You would think it would be able to move, but nope, it's just one piece. So this is the chest unit. I really like the way it looks. It has all the color apps. I didn't paint it or put any stickers on here. In terms of mobility, it's just joints for the shoulders, which can move up and down, as well as this fin back here, which can also move up and down. I'm not quite sure what this fin is for. The fact that it can move down kind of feels like the HGUC can transform into a Wave Rider mode or something. But alas, back here you have the two kind of boosters, two ball joints for the actual fuel tanks. Down here is the joint for the attaching to the waist unit. And something that I think is really cool is the way this neck unit is made. As you can see, by default it kind of sits back down, but if you want the HGUC kind of looking up at the stars, you can really push that neck out and kind of lift the head up. So here is the arm of the HGUC Gundam. As you can see, you can do about a 70-degree bend. You can also swap out the fists. Here we have one for holding the beam sabers, but you can also swap it out for a trigger finger one. And with this, you can hold the bazooka as well as the beam rifle and make it look like you're actually firing. Now, the actual arms of the Hainu Gundam are a bit different. As you can see, one arm has an ammo pack in the back, while another is just a big blue piece. So on this one, there is an ammo pack that you kind of take out, as well as slide back in. And here is a nice little detail. There's just kind of a little beam gun, or machine gun. I believe on the Hainu Verka, it's actually like a Gatling gun. But on here, it's just a big blue piece with a little hole in there to attach the shield onto. So here are the wings, or the fin funnel racks of the Hainu Gundam. You can open this part up and you can store a beam saber in there. The wings themselves just attach to the main body with a simple peg. The fin funnels do all detach. Unfortunately, they are on a 1-2 split, so two of them are stuck together and they're just kind of stuck together permanently, nothing folding out. But one of them, however, do completely fold out, and you can assemble it to be like a typical fin funnel, even though there is this attachment piece that will always be protruding. So here's the head of the Hainu Gundam, which I think looks very impressive, especially for a high grade. One nitpick that I do kind of have is the fact that the V-fins are dull, which isn't how it's supposed to be in the official artworks, but I guess for high grades, which are targeted more towards kids, you don't want them to poke their eyes out. So another thing that I do like, however, is the fact that the construction is kind of like a helmet that you put onto the Gundam face itself, so there is no ugly seam line running across the helmet. Another thing that I really appreciate is the fact that they put the model number of the Hainu Gundam onto the forehead jewel, and it's barely eligible, and you can definitely feel it if you run your finger over it. But I'm really surprised that it's something that they did on a high grade, and I do really appreciate it. Now let's put this Gundam together. Now that the kit's all put together, I have to say in terms of looks, I think this kit's a winner for me. I've always been a fan of the Hainu design, and I think that this HGUC kit really captures the essence of it. That being said, it does have some problems in that there is a massive backpack, so in terms of posing, you are going to have to kind of shift the feet forward so that it's kind of leaning forward at kind of an awkward angle. Of course, an action base will kind of alleviate that. Another issue that I found is the fact that there is a ball joint here that is very prone to getting bent backwards just because of the weight of the wings. So when you're posing, you have to really shove it down and make sure that it's in place if you want to get it into some kind of natural pose. So in terms of articulation, as I mentioned before, the head of the Hainu Gundam is on this nice little joint that can kind of lift up and make it look like he's kind of looking up at the sky. In the default position, however, it is very limited just because the shape of the helmet itself kind of cracks in with the collar, and that way you can't really rotate it side to side. But if you lift it up a bit, you can get a bit more free range movement. Onto the actual chest unit itself, it's attached to the waist unit with this kind of ball joint. As mentioned before, it kind of just drops back if you don't kind of shove it down and put it into place. That being said, it does rotate a solid 360 degrees. The arms, the shoulders can kind of wiggle up and down. The arms can go up and be perpendicular to the body itself. And of course, the elbow still bends at 60, 70 kind of degrees, no problem. Onto the waist itself, the front skirts will originally be one piece, so if you lift one up, then both are going to lift at the same time. But because I snipped in the middle, they can lift up individually, and that allows the legs to also kind of kick up, do a solid 90-degree kick. And the same bend as before, nothing is too hindered. The sky skirts don't really get in the way, but they can't really wiggle much because the blue piece here tends to bump into the ab part of the Gundam itself. So moving on to the back of the kit, as mentioned before, this is kind of a fin here, which moves up and down. I did some research, and apparently it's some kind of a stabilizer. You have two kind of boosters here. They don't move at all. They can kind of pop off easily. The fuel tanks here can kind of rotate. They're on a ball joint, but it's very limited. And honestly, if you pull them out, you can kind of see the ball joint, and I don't think that looks very good. So just kind of keep them in that kind of locked-in pose. But here on the actual wings or fin funnel racks themselves, I think is where the kit really does its justice. So you can have a full range of movement here. And again, as well as the fin funnels, as mentioned before, these can kind of slide off and go act on their own. Personally, I do like the fin funnels in their kind of completely up pose, but that does make it a bit difficult to pose since it's more prone to just falling over. So I can see why some people want to kind of put it in the down pose. So in terms of accessories, the Hainu Gundam comes with its signature beam rifle, has this kind of little weird, almost alien-esque tip to it. But in terms of color apps, it's just 2 silver pieces slapped together. The sculpt itself is pretty detailed, but it kind of lacks the color apps of the official coloring. So you're going to have to paint that yourself if you wanted to get it closer to what it looks like in all the official artwork. That being said, it does have this nice little peg here, which will plug into the trigger finger hand, and a little hole here for the trigger finger to go in the trigger finger hand. Next, we have the bazooka. On the new Gundam, it's called the New Hyper Bazooka, so I guess on this one, it's the High New Bazooka. Kind of weird. But unlike the beam rifle, it does have an extra moving piece, which is the handle. But other than that, similarly, it's just 2 silver pieces slapped together with this handle in the front. Again, the handle, just like the beam rifle, does contain the little peg to plug into the trigger finger hand, so it should be pretty stable once you get it on there. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any sliding gimmicks or any kind of ammo pack removing gimmicks. Next is the beam saber, which the High New Gundam comes with 2 of them. So just white standard beam sabers plug into the back of the fin funnel rack. But the special thing about the High New Gundam's beam sabers is that they're this nice little royal blue, almost kind of dark blue, sky bluish. And I think it matches up very nicely with the overall color scheme of the High New Gundam, which does lead to a question: how do manufacturers at Anaheim decide what color their beam sabers are going to be? But yeah, as you also notice, it's not just the one-sided beam saber. The other side is also kind of a Darth Maul style beam saber. But unfortunately, there are 2 beam sabers, but only 2 effect parts, or 1 set of effect parts. So you're only going to be able to have 1 beam saber out at a time for the full effect. Last but certainly not least is the shield of the High New Gundam, which I think is one of the selling points of this kit for me. As you know, it's very well done. The blue and white stripes look very cool. There should be a sticker on here, but I plan to paint this kit eventually, so I won't be putting the sticker on just yet. As you can see here, there are some nice vents with some silverish details, which is provided by the back piece. Again, lots of nice detail. I'm very impressed with this shield. And the way you get it onto the kit is pretty simple. You just take this connector piece, plug it in here, and this little tab here should connect into the back of the Gundam arm. So here's the High New Gundam all weaponized up. Unfortunately, there is no place to put the bazooka on the back or anything like that. That being said, I really do kind of like the look of the weapons. I think the added weight does help the kit also balance out a little bit. I do think it's capable of some pretty cool poses. It's capable of the classic staring down the beam rifle pose, but I think the limited mobility of the head kind of hinders what kind of angles you can put the rifle at. And here's a little dynamic pose of it kind of drawing out the beam saber. I am quite surprised by just how well this kit can pose on the ground despite the weight of the wings. The double-sided beam saber seems like a good idea and all, but I really hope Amuro doesn't end up stabbing himself in the cockpit. But as the manual kind of shows, the High New Gundam's posability really shines with the assistance of an action base. Attaching the action base is as simple as plugging the hole in. While he definitely looks more comfortable on an action base, the problem with the torso joint falling backwards still persists just because of the way the action base is connected. That being said, it does look a lot more stable. You can get the classic kind of Gundam launching pose, where I think is very helped out by the fact that the wings are very maneuverable. You can kind of sweep them back, and the legs can get that cool dynamic angle. Unfortunately, I do think you kind of need an action base to pose it with the bazooka, because the bazooka takes up part of the shoulder, and normally the wings would be in the way, and you kind of need to sweep the wings back, which does give a little cool impression of it kind of swooshing and boosting forward. Another thing I don't like about the bazooka is the fact that it does seem kind of short. I know that on the master grade, bazookas tend to fold and retract, but here it's just one piece, and I think they kind of try to went for a midway. And I just think it kind of makes the bazooka look kind of toyish and not that intimidating. And of course, if G Gundam has taught us anything, it's that you don't even need weapons to make your mobile suits look cool. So in terms of height, the High New Gundam is canonically 20 meters tall, while the New Gundam is 22 meters tall. And as you can see here, compared to the real grade New Gundam, the New Gundam is just maybe a head taller, which seems about right. Though the real grades do seem to have a tendency to kind of stretch out the size of the Gundams a little bit. Here he is next to the real grade Sazabi, which the Sazabi is a 23-meter Gundam, and just like the real grade New Gundam, it is a good bit taller than the High New. Now for some final thoughts on the high grade Universal Century High New Gundam. I think that it's overall a very good kit, and one of the best pros is that it's a very good representation of the High New Gundam. I know that some people don't really like the Master Grade High New Verka because it kind of significantly changes its design, gets rid of kind of changes the colors on the fin funnels, makes the suit overall just kind of very bulky and very big. And I know that some people don't like that, so I think for those, this is a good alternative. Just because the old Master Grade seems to be out of print or something, I can't seem to ever find it being sold online somewhere. Another pro, I think, is that it's a quick build. After all, this is a high grade. It's something you kind of sit down in an afternoon and kind of piece together for people who don't have a lot of time. I think this is a very good kit. For the main body, at least, there are no stickers or anything needed to kind of get the main color apps. The weapons, as I've mentioned, is kind of just monotone, and that will have to be fixed with paint. But I think sort of the main body, the overall colors, all pop very well, and there are no stickers needed to kind of get those colors. I think another pro, or maybe not a pro, is the fact that the kit is pretty simple. There are a lot of panel lining options, so I think this is a pretty good beginner kit, both just for people starting to build or for people who want to get into painting and really detailing up their kits. For some cons, I had to say the price is kind of a con at 22,000 yen, or around 22 US dollars. It's almost the price of a real grade, and it definitely is not near real grade quality. Real grades have like an inner frame, moving parts, all the color applications. This is not it. This is most definitely a high grade quality kit. So I think the price is a bit much, but then again, it did come out in 2009, which was over a decade ago. Another con, I think, is definitely the fact that it kind of almost needs an action base to kind of pose well. I mean, as I showed before, you can't get some cool dynamic ground poses, but this is a kit with wings or a backpack fin funnel racks, and you will need an action base to kind of display it in its full glory. So I think that's kind of a mark off. And lastly, as mentioned before, the bazooka is the bazooka and the rifle. They lack the color apps, and the bazooka itself is seems kind of short and out of proportion, so I think that is kind of disappointing. But overall, I think that this is a very good kit. If you are a fan of the High New Gundam or just want to get into high grades, this is a pretty good kit to start. Yeah, overall, I definitely say go for it if you've been interested in it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching my review. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much.